Alright, we're on time this time. We did it. We arrived mostly at the promised interval. Anyway, so we're back tonight with more Silas, Mr. Greaves. But before we get started, I've got gun chat. I know, no one likes it but me, but that's okay. So, we don't have much to go over for Call of Juarez, but we do have a cast of firearms to get to know, and unlike other games, we have a cast of real firearms to get to know. I don't have to really theorize here. I can just tell you a little bit about what it is that we're doing, and some of the sort of gun theory at the time. You know, why it is that we're seeing these specific weapons and what's going on with them. We'll start with a rifle. It's undoubtedly like a Winchester 1800s model. I'd pin it as an 1892. They were typically chambered for proprietary cartridges, you know, things made by Winchester for Winchester. I believe the one that we're looking at makes sense as like a 4440. Or just 44 Winchester, as it's sometimes called. It's a pistol caliber round, but then so was basically every model of rifle for this specific era, like, and particularly for this specific rifle. Most lever actions, with the exception of like the 30-30 and some others here and there, will fire a pistol caliber round. That's something with a relatively short case. It's got to do with basically just, you know, keeping your capacity up. It feeds via tube, which is that little thing under the barrel. Anyway, so the 4440, credited as part of the combo of the gun that won the West, and for the time, repeating rifles were the end-all be-all of warfare, so this makes sense, and it makes sense that Silas would be familiar with them. By today's standards, the 4440 is somewhat underpowered to be throwing out of a rifle. It clocks into like 925 joules of energy out of a 20-inch barrel. For comparison's sake, our modern rifle cartridge that's standard for like the United States and NATO allies clocks in at a little over double that out of a similar inch barrel. So, you know, there you go. It's a zippier, smaller round, delivers twice the energy. We're better at metallurgy and chemistry and shit now. The primary advantage of this, I think, will become clear as we talk about our handguns. We'll start with the 6-shooter. It's the first thing that we see. It looks like a Colt single-action army to me. It's another sort of gun that's gotten some attention via games. There's another dude who spins it around and yells like a cat, even though he's a grown man, that made these somewhat game famous. They are also chambered in 4440, sometimes 45 Colt, but later we could find them in 357 Magnum. That's viable today. 44 Special, which is less impressive but still fine-ish. Anyway, they share around, and this was a common thing to do when you were basically an underpaid temp worker. That's what cowboys were. You would carry a rifle and a pistol in the same round, so you only had to pack one type of bullet, and typically the primary difference between what it was you were carrying was accuracy. Handguns are not terribly accurate at distance. It has to do with the barrel length, and a whole lot of other things as far as like how it is that you actually grip and fire it. For a rifle, there's a whole lot of extra mass to absorb what it is that your hands are doing, as well as a longer barrel to help stabilize the projectile and make sure that the powder burn is a little bit more complete and all that. Keeps the pressure behind the bullet longer, you know what I mean? When it comes to your actual personal grip, with a handgun, you're probably going to be firing it one-handed or with, you know, nice little nested grip that we've seen in, like, Titanfall 2. That, however, did not come about until, like, much later. You'd see standard pistol practice being to hold it upright, and then lower it onto the target in a kind of instinctive shooting pattern. That's how it is that you would fire a bow anyway. You see the top of the target, you pull the trigger. The biomechanics of this that make pistols inaccurate is that when you apply pressure with your finger, you are naturally going to twist the gun barrel down and away from the hand that you are holding the gun in. This is going to happen every time, regardless of what your quote technique is, because that's how hands work, and you're applying pressure from a direction. You can minimize this, don't get me wrong, and you can do that with that nice nested grip. Your hand presses against the other one and kind of stabilizes the gun. You don't get too much wobble. But these, like what Silas is using, you wouldn't use that grip because it hadn't really been pioneered yet, and Silas certainly doesn't. So his rounds are going to have a tendency to pull down and to the left if he's right-handed, or down and to the right if he's right-handed. With a rifle, your offhand is way out towards the muzzle, so you fucking around with the trigger at the back of the gun isn't really going to throw things off terribly much, because you have a whole other arm involved, and that arm has leverage. Anyway, so the 6-shooter, again, you can buy these today. Colt Single Action Army. I wouldn't. It's fumbly. The loading gate thing. It's no good. If you just want to take it to the range, that's cool. The other thing that we don't really see in the game too much is that, well, it's right in the name, single action. That means that hammer has to be cocked manually every single time you want to fire the gun. Single action means that the trigger has one function, and that is to release the hammer or the striker if it happens to be a striker-fired gun. You don't have to worry about strikers for this era. They didn't exist. Well, at least striker-fired handguns. Anyway, so the Ranger looks like a Colt Walker, a much older gun than the Single Action Army. It is also single action though, but it's black powder only, and the biggest issue for it was that the cylinder would rupture. That's not good. You don't want your gun blowing up on you. They also, like a whole lot of things with percussion caps and black powder, had a problem with all of the chambers igniting at once. We can see that problem dating back as far as like the pepper box pistol, where sometimes you would fire one bullet and sometimes you'd fire all of the fucking bullets. Whoopsie. To prevent this, you basically have to just slather it in fat or grease, and to this day, if people go to like a cowboy shooting competition, yeah, you'll find them just like grabbing some fucking butter and getting it real slippery in there. And that's just to fucking dull the chance for the powder to chain react. No specific cartridge for the Ranger, because it's old enough to not have that. It's just a diameter. You hand load all of those chambers, which isn't something that we see Silas doing. There's a big long rod under the barrel, and that's actually a lever that you move up and down, and it operates a plunger which packs your powder, wadding, and projectile into the chamber. The diameter, however, does match with the other ones. It's 44. And that brings us to the quick shooter, which I thought was a Webley, but I guess it just looked shorter than it is. It's a Schofield, and Schofields have this, like, what I consider to be this nice sort of graceful slope to them. It moves around the hinge. Really nice looking gun. A top rake revolver, primarily useful for that specific reloading mechanism. You press a button, it flops down on a hinge, and you can eject your shells real easy and then pop new ones in much faster than you could with a Single Action Army. Typically chambered in similar, if not literally the same caliber as these other ones we've been talking about. The Schofield also even had limited deployment in World War I, which is interesting that it lasted that long, particularly given that, you know, automatic pistols had become a thing by then. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, no, the shotgun. Okay, yep. So we need to talk about 10 gauge. Silas makes the claim that it can cut a man in half, but like no. Don't get me wrong, shotgun pellets make a mess of unarmored flesh and bone. They do. They cause ugly wounds. These days, a 10 gauge is not really like a guy killing thing. It's mostly used by people who do like duck and goose hunting. The reason for that is you can just cram more projectiles into the shell. More mass flung means heavier powder charge, which is going to be shitty for recoil, but it doesn't necessarily translate to higher projectile velocity or greater energy transfer with shotguns. And the reason for that is that you're tossing a bunch of independent pieces, the shot in question, and you're going to run into issues with just how much energy the little balls leave the barrel with and how much they expend fighting like the wind and then the tissue they hit, as well as each other, because you can get collisions within the barrel. It's not common. They're not supposed to bounce around like that, or at least not quite that much, but it can happen. Anyway, the idea that you hardly have to aim the thing would also be incorrect. The length of the barrels would make the patterning pretty tight. If you cut them down, then it widens, but you also then lose pressure behind the little balls like we talked about with barrel length earlier. Barrel length still does affect things like that. It's just that the powder charge and the mass propelled fuck around in different ways. Now I think we're done. I think we're done with gun chat. I think you're free. 12 minutes of gun chat. Well, whatever. We'll get to Silas now, and he'll talk your ear off. And I'll be here too, don't worry. Don't worry, you're stuck with me. We got ears. We should have eyes shortly. Yes. Okay, playing the game. Story. And we continue. We're still looking for Bob. Roscoe Bob Bryant. I don't know why the fuck its thing is Bob. Like, my name's Roscoe, but call me Bob? And no one went, how about Rob or something with an R? Or just take a different fucking nickname, like you're out there in the fucking country.
We'll get those suckers.
It took me a couple of days to track the Daltons down.
They can't get away with this.
And in that time, a whole posse of local vigilantes offered to lend a hand.
Okay.
We'll track them to the ends of the earth.
They seemed as determined as me to find those outlaws. But as we headed into those swamps, it was like I had my own private army. There was no way those boys were getting away this time.
That's true, Silas. I like that it lets him finish his sentence while I'm doing this. It doesn't just cut him off midway. That's nice. That's a nice touch. Good looking out. Yeah. We'll probably want that as well. And that over there. Well, we're getting there. Wait, what did that say? The unknown inventor of this magnificent firearm modified its spring to allow extra bullets in the magazine. Okay, but... So typically in order to extend the magazine of these things that have a tube magazine, you actually have to add tube. And that balance has to be pretty precise. Like not super. I don't want to make it seem like it's impossible. You could, but you need actual physical space. It can't just be a spring that compresses more, because then the follower will be too weak to actually push the rounds into place for you to use the lever. In addition, it's lighter and more durable, which by itself makes handling easier and reduces recoil. No, lighter does not reduce recoil. That would increase recoil. What does it say about the other ones? Custom threaded barrel increases its range and piercing power. It's now easier to hit what you're aiming at and look good while you're doing it. I believe they mean rifle threading, like the kind of spiral pattern that gets bored to the inside of the barrel, which, like, okay. Piercing power, well, it might increase round velocity and stability, like it wouldn't tumble or loose as much due to air resistance. Shortened grip and lighter construction on this beauty improves aim. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. If you shorten the grip, you're losing leverage in your hand. To allow powder grain bullets, its stopping power has been increased considerably. Stopping power is a myth. Aim, agility, and handling. No. Anyway, if they're talking about powder grain bullets, then I guess they're moving away from fucking black powder for that, which is fine. But at the same time, like, it's... The gun has specific tolerances, like we get into material science then, and without strengthening the metal that it's made of, it's still only going to be able to handle the pressure that you built it for originally. So you might have to use less powder in the case, but you're not going to be able to load that any hotter. High-powered shells can be used with this gleaming scatter gun, giving the user a little extra range. Sure, I guess. Necessary for taking out enemies at a distance. Not only can it shoot farther, it doesn't require pinpoint precision to hit what you're aiming at. I mean, nah, but it do. You still have to aim a shotgun. Don't listen to anyone who says otherwise. Crafted with care to help it shoot farther and with more power. Okay. No. You've sawed the barrels off. The fucking spray is gonna be pretty wild. We gotta stand back from that. We don't want to blow ourselves up. Yeah, just the one's fine. Bah. Well, that time he did. But then we have a problem. The spin reload. Yeah, no. These are single-action armies that have been, like, painted up.
It was early fall, right? Beautiful time of year. At least you had the weather on your side.
Not by my recollection. It was damp and foggy as hell.
Because that's more dramatic, you see.
It was tough to stay on a true course, so we kept an eye out for
I got it.
landmarks.
Wants me to be sure that I'm seeing this incredibly dramatic and I think beautifully animated piece of ribbon. It looks real fucking cool. It's almost smoke-like. And then we got bugs. We got crows. We'll always have the crows. They're ever present.
It was autumn. The maple trees were in full color, red as blood.
I mean, that's orange, Silas, but that's okay, man.
The rains that year were torrential, so the whole area was flooded. The vigilantes had spread out wide, and pretty soon I couldn't see anybody.
We got some collapsed buildings. How you liking the squashing noises? Oh. They got their own little library out here. Again, this would be a lot of money for this day and age. A lot of money. Books did not come cheap. And just think of what the humidity would do to them. Don't tell the witch that someone left those books out here in the swamp.
Bury them in the swamp. Where they stand.
Hit the wrong button.
Except for some bitches ahead of me wanted to do me harm, so I had to face them alone.
Oh.
I wondered why
Hang
my
on.
compatriots
There
didn't
we are.
come running when they heard the shots.
That's better.
Do it again.
Hey. Anyway, while Silas is wondering, I'm sure you've already figured it out, Lost
Did you
Things.
find the Daltons?
Not yet, but I did have the questionable pleasure of meeting a few of their friends.
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Found him.
The boys had
got
established
there?
quite a reputation by that time, so they attracted all manner of riffraff to their cause.
Guy up here claims I'm dead now.
Kill that cop.
Okay. That did it. I hear somebody else saying things. Got a real good arm on him. Very good at floating those.
Point being, I was under serious attack, and my reinforcements was nowhere to be seen.
This tree needed to be in a box. It's been bad. Don't feel bad for it. Okay. Well, the music stopped. It's no longer quite so adventurous. We're still in the swamp with a whole bunch of these guys.
But luckily, a barn materialized as if right before my eyes. I scrambled up top to get a better view.
A better view is what we'll have. If we don't fall off the tree. There's corn out here.
But just ended up falling inside.
So, how did you get out?
The barn doors was open. About right then, I saw some suspicious characters running through the bushes. Of course, I followed them. But that goddamn swamp was like a goddamn maze, and pretty soon I had no goddamn idea where I was. Steve?
Steve is falling asleep.
So I just started walking, and pretty soon
Yeah, you wouldn't want to interrupt a nap that good.
Steve? Steve!
Huh? Oh, no, I'm listening.
Indians surrounded me from all sides.
Indians? There were Indians.
No. I just wanted to make sure Steve was paying attention. Now, where was I?
You were following the Daltons through a swamp?
That's right. See,
All right, then.
Steve? Dwight's paying attention.
No, I'm listening. I was just resting my eyes.
So, where was I?
The Daltons.
Right. See, there's a reason so many outlaw gangs are made up of brothers. Being a brother is a very sacred thing.
Hard disagree, Silas.
No other.
Hard disagree, my man.
Bounty hunters! Stop that son of a bitch!
Got him that time.
So did you ever find the damn Daltons?
Not yet. But I did find a few of their cousins. Kansans breed like rabbits. More Smiths or Heimhoffers or who knows what. But hell, what's more important than family? I'll bet Ben knows what I'm talking about.
Time for you to go. Get ready to die.
I'm gonna have to ask him to stop doing that. Alright. Okay.
Can't beat us all. Somebody kill that sumbitch!
Okay. See movement. Yeah, those guys.
You can't get me.
I mean, I would if I could, but it does not seem to be an option. Hey. There's someone else here. Ah, I see. Alright, well, you know what? Let's fuck around with the shotgun for a little bit. We've been pretty heavily leaning on the rifle, but that's just my own predilections. You know how it can be. Okay. Found that guy. Ow. From where? That way, apparently. Well, we're gonna have to go down there and just find out.
I'm ending you.
Hello?
You or me?
Ah, Christ. From that far away, huh?
You ain't seen the likes of me. Oh!
I knew those Dalton boys were out there somewhere, standing together against anyone who would threaten them.
Okay. I mean, we are, after all, the Daltons, so I'm like... It's convenient that they're together. We already bagged the one after, you know, putting a whole bunch of bullets in him. That's something. That's what? Just the two left now?
And that's when I saw it. A goddamn steamboat.
A steamboat in a swamp?
Yeah, Steve, but this wasn't much more than a wreck, really.
But how'd a damn steamboat end up in the swamps?
Guess it floated off during the flood of '89.
Now, was it a stern wheeler or a side wheeler?
What? Does that really make a difference, Steve? It was a steamboat with a goddamn army on board.
I mean, he wanted to know. It's a stern wheeler.
Bullets come raining down from on high, and those vigilantes who accompanied me weren't anywhere to be found.
Silas still hasn't put it together.
I thought I saw some familiar faces.
There we go. He's a bit slow on the uptake. And I do need that guy to stop doing that. That would be sick. Okay. Well, we're about to be in some very close quarters, and that's why it is that I decided that this was a good idea. Hello. Whoop. A nugget of truth is somewhere nearby. Do we think up, down, or over there in the fucking muck? I'm thinking over there in the muck. You would think, anyway, right? Yeah, because this doesn't appear to go anywhere else, does it? But, at the same time, I don't really see anything. Or I'm sure that I'll see it on the watch back and be like, it was right there, what's wrong with my eyes? But, you know, it's different doing something instead of watching something. It divides your internal processes. This also may be going off for a nugget of truth that we've already picked up. Because I'm not sure exactly how it is that it sends those alerts off. Oh well. We're just going to have to accept it and continue.
They're waiting on me.
What do you think about an all-shotgun build for a moment? I actually feel like that might be stupid. We're not going to do that. We'll do these. Hey, we haven't spent much time with the quick shooters. In tighter quarters are quite handy.
Give up too easy. That's the kind of man
Yeah, quite handy.
I set out to do something. I do it. Surrender just ain't in my nature. Plus, I'm stubborn as hell.
You think they had a lot of fun saying the word hell on this? They say it frequently, and they seem to relish it. I can't blame them. A project like this must have been interesting. No, we're not going that way.
You rule the day.
There we go. Okay, back into the muck because we want to moisturize. You can't just dry out. The witch's entire family tries to dry themselves out. They don't like water. I'm not sure why. And that's not like a Wicked Witch joke either. That's real. They just don't like water.
Right about then, much to my relief, the
That guy
vigilantes finally
caught 2
arrived.
bullets.
Their leader motioned at a cabin in the middle of the top deck, pointing me directly at the Daltons. I finally had them, after months of dogged pursuit.
Oh, Silas. Well, we must.
But it turned out that they had me.
Take him out! I'm sending you to hell!
There it is again.
The Daltons had played me
Not so
like a
tough after
fiddle.
all, is it?
Apparently, the vigilantes were on their damn payroll.
Now shit's on fire.
Want to shoot me. They wanted to burn me alive. But finding my way out of a burning labyrinth proved to be quite a challenge.
It was a riverboat, right? I mean, it's not like it was a goddamn ocean liner.
Oh, yeah, but I was in a
Did you
fight.
hear about that ship that's gonna launch next year? Largest one in the world.
They're talking about the Titanic. If you ask me, it's too blessed big. I don't think we'll even float.
So anyway,
Don't be stupid, Steve. They know what they're doing. They say that the Titanic is unsinkable.
oh God.
But getting back to that steamboat, how'd you get off it, Mr. Greaves?
I took in a lot of smoke that day, so I admit my recollection might be a bit hazy. But somehow I managed to finally disembark. I was coughing up smoke and pretty damn pissed. I was done playing games with those boys.
All right, we're out.
It was time to settle this once and for all.
Now we have a Gatling gun. We can judge how hot it is based on the barrels. If they get too hot, we'll need to just give it a moment, but if we keep it nice and steady like this, it shouldn't really be a problem.
Bob and Grad weren't about to come at me.
Made for specifically that.
They were in this together. Two brothers side by side,
Well.
determined to take me down.
That's a problem.
Confident that this time the odds were on their side.
We're going to have to find a way to beat two of them. That's typically what happens. I'll be watching one and, well, the other one will do the thing. Now, Grat is who we focused on, but Grat doesn't always shoot first. We just have to try to guess right. Maybe duck a bullet in there. There we go.
Got it wrong. A sad end for those two. If they'd only known that Emmett was still alive despite his wounds. Paroled 14 years later. He moved to California and sold real estate and lived off the legend of that fateful day. And the tragic death of his two brothers.
Well, there we go. We'll find that one nugget one day, I'm sure. Let's do our skills in the interim. Let's see. Well, let's just continue on this for right now.
My own brothers died tragically as well, truth be told. It was 1868, and me and my older brothers were pulling a tidy profit running cattle into Juarez, Mexico. One night after my brothers retired for the evening, I found a little poker game in a cantina with a couple of cowboys. And I just couldn't lose. I even won an old Spanish coin that had to be 100 years old. Well, I was mighty pleased with myself the next morning as my brothers and I rode for Texas. But before we crossed the border, those cowboys caught up with us. It was Johnny Ringo, Roscoe Bob Bryant, and another asshole named Jim. They wanted their money back and everything else we had, including our lives, as those boys didn't want us coming for them later. Bob put that old Spanish coin in my mouth and said, "I won't have it said that I left you with nothing, boy." Well, those horses bolted, and there we hung as those bastards rode away. The branch finally snapped under the weight of the three of us, but being my older brothers were bigger and heavier, they were already dead. And right then I swore to myself that I would avenge them. Ringo you know about. But Bob eluded me, until I heard he was riding with the Wild Bunch.
I didn't want to interrupt the tragedy of that story, but what was going on with Dwight's face? It looked like he had just begun to smell something terrible. We'll never know. We can't ask him.
I'd been on their trail for months, ever since they left their hideout in the Bighorn Mountains.
Alright, we're chasing the Wild Bunch.
They were a loose association of outlaws who robbed banks and trains from Colorado to Montana. Among them was the Sundance Kid, and that murderous hombre I was tracking, Roscoe Bob Bryant.
Were you a part of that giant Pinkerton posse after the Wild Bunch?
No, boy. A circus like that would have slowed me down. Besides, I wanted Bryant all to myself. They blew the bridge with the intention of forcing the train to stop.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
I assumed the Wild Bunch was likely in the still intact part of the train high above. I was determined to make that sumbitch Bob pay for what he did to my brothers.
Frankly, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid would have been worth a bigger paycheck, Silas. We have to remember, you know, revenge is good, but be like Joe. We got a short rifle. I wouldn't. I am holding just the regular rifle. Yeah.
I found the device they used to blow the tracks, so I knew I was headed in the right direction.
Alright, so we're headed in the right direction this way, which means that's the way we go.
My ears are still ringing from blowing up that ridge.
That'll happen.
Well, I made my way off unscathed and came upon a few
There it
members of
is.
the gang and had no choice but to dispatch them.
Y'all got some longer range ones here?
Negotiate an even more precarious
Perfect.
route.
Not as easy to reload, but still. I'd rather hit
Need
the
to
thing.
get my ass out of there.
Alright.
I jumped from the frying pan into the fire as
And
the
then
train
we
was clearly fixing to fall.
quickly backpedaled off the side in an attempt to take cover. Ah, well. Back in. Is this cool the second time? We actually won't be needing these in here.
Found the gang, but in order to find old Bob, I needed to fight my way forward past a whole passel of desperados.
Yeah, probably. We'll end up with more pistol ammunition than shotgun ammunition.
Inside, any way I could, I made my way towards my prey.
Well, what about the passengers?
It was mostly a freight train, as I recall. There were no passengers aboard that day.
Just another one of these. Okay. Boom. Chill out, Silas.
You hear me?
Okay, ammunition. ammunition.
As I mentioned before, I am not fond of heights. But I was too busy dodging bullets to worry about falling to my death. Odds were I was likely to die that day anyway. So I was determined to take down as many of those bastards as I could.
Yeah, because we are still in very close quarters.
I'm gonna shoot you dead! That's right! Run!
Oh, just how about the ground? There we go.
like shooting ducks in a shooting gallery. The only difference is these damn ducks shot back.
Well, that solves that, doesn't it? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, that's fine. Up we go.
I kept hoping the law would show up and give me a
You
hand.
mean like that giant Pinkerton posse that I read about? Did they come riding in, guns a-blazing to help?
This is a security contracting organization that exists to this day. You can be hired by the Pinkertons. One of them made the news recently. We'll see how his trial goes.
Help? From the Pinkertons? No, son. I had to fight the wild bunch all by my lonesome, as usual.
Who the hell is that? Got cover! Retreat!
Hell of a shot from down there, man. There we go. It kind of popped me in front of my cover there. Okay. We can just open that one. We know who's there.
He's killing everybody! He'll kill us all!
Hooray for us. I believe what we're going to be looking for is... No? Oh, well that's gotta be it then, doesn't it? I'm fairly certain that that is effectively the high noon ability. Now there's also one that allows us to kind of auto-target the guy that was just about to kill us during the sense of death dodge. We'll see. Oh, that's solved. Still going this way? Yep.
My guess is those dime novels didn't portray this as it happened, did they? Only a few stragglers were left. I had to cut them down pronto if I was going to stay on old Bob's trail.
If you want to live!
There we go. Now we've done it.
Once I silenced all those guns, I went searching for my nemesis, determined to finally have my justice. But the only survivor who welcomed me was George Flat-Nosed Curry.
Who was he?
Oh, that's a paycheck anyway.
Gang. Right after Sundance, I mean. And Kid Curry, and maybe Elsie Lay. Though some folks might dispute that.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
On that very same day,
Not quick
Butch
enough.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid decided to leave the Wild Bunch behind and decamped for South America. They ended up living down there for many years, but I'm sure you already know all about that.
Okay. We're on the 130 to hell. There's hell again. I don't know if I can do it justice the way that they do. Maybe hell. Close? I don't know. I don't know where it is I fall on that. They keep asking me if I believe in ghosts. Yes. It would be hard not to believe in my own existence. You can shoot the dynamite you throw as well as your enemy's dynamite in the air. We've done that. Wayne taught us that trick. We didn't need them to tell us.
I tried to find Bob Bryant, but it was as if he'd disappeared.
We're in Colorado.
Later, I heard the Wild Bunch was back together. Kid Curry escaped from jail, and now he was running the whole shebang. So I took to their trail, as I was still in pursuit of my brother's killer and hoped that he was back with him.
That Kid Curry's kinda crazy, ain't he? Don't let him hear you saying that.
Anyways, I tracked those boys to a camp right outside Parachute, Colorado.
Will do.
Being outnumbered, I didn't bother with a warning shot. I just started taking those bastards down.
Yeah, we'll wait until I can see better. There we go.
Give it up, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
Old Bob wasn't among them, and neither was Kid Curry. I could sense him close by, however, plotting something nasty. I just needed a clue as to their whereabouts.
He could sense him. I'm not sure how. But, you know, Silas makes claims. Alright, we're back to our old tricks for this level. We'll switch it up as we're allowed to. We're finding clues. Oh, there's a map. Convenient.
And I found one. A map with their bold plan clearly marked. This time they were fixing to blow up a train trestle. Property of the Union Pacific. The plan clearly indicated how they were fixing to undermine several of the weakest wooden supports.
Well, this will be a time attack. Not a lot of room for our usual methodical crap. We gotta stay ahead of that fuse. The next morning. You want to sleep on it, don't you?
Kid Curry was considered the wildest of the Wild Bunch. It was said that he fathered 85 bastard children, though some say it was only 5.
That's a lot of fucking.
Kid Curry had bragged to a
It
whore how
is.
he was going to rob a train heading to the U.S. Mint in Denver. And that whore, Fat Sally, she told me.
Well, okay. Thank you, Fat Sally. Everyone say thank you to Fat Sally.
The bridge was rigged.
I don't want her part in
So I
this
decided I'd best be careful
to
confronting
go uncounted. That's our dynamite now.
A moment later, I saw a ladder that somehow had escaped my attention.
Excellent.
Don't you blow us up now. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing.
That's what he says.
The wild bunch did not take kindly to my presence and attempted to blow my head off. It appeared the kid had found a number of new recruits to bolster their ranks. Guess there's always desperate men willing to trade their lives for stolen treasure.
I was trying to pick up the dynamite there. There.
I'm putting you down.
Oh, maybe when we're done being shot at.
What happened next?
Well, having removed the first bundle of dynamite,
So there we go.
decided I might as well remove the other one. Once that was
My bad, I was just a little bit more mission focused than Silas is. He's, you know, he's got to spin the tail. Looks good, looks good. Whoop. I'd prefer it if you didn't. Oh, that one's already dead. He's just in a fun pose. Oop. Okay.
So, what happened then?
had to remove more of that damn dynamite.
We might want that. Just in case we see more of those guys. Alright.
It must have been terrifying trying to make your way across.
I was sweating it a bit, but then I noticed a footbridge tied up on high, so I shot the rope.
Where the fuck did you... Oh. That would be where he saw that. I wish he would be more specific with me sometimes. But, you know, alcohol, age. Memories get, you know, interesting with time. It's always good to check your own perceptions.
So that was all the dynamite?
Well, funny you should mention that, darling. As actually there was a fourth charge impeding my progress.
Yeah.
Once I removed it, my path was pretty clear.
There we go. I agree, dude. I agree. Their measure on how far shotguns reach is still a little bit off, but at least it's not quite as short as others. They're asking if I've had enough. Now I'm having a grand old time. I don't know if I'm the rootinist or the tootinist, but I think so far I'm the shootinist. Some kind of maniac would be also appropriate, so that guy had his head on straight. Hey. Irresponsible,
So I
but
proceeded onward and realized that way
let's try this out.
I needed an alternate path forward.
Yeah, we do. We'll try this out. We'll see if it is just a trap. Or, like, what the deal is with this. 'Cause I remember ignoring it previously just on principle. Just kind of going like, why the fuck would I want to saw the end of the rifle off? That defeats the purpose of the rifle. But you and I lost things. We're trying to experience stuff. We're gonna branch out. We got some things to do on the docket coming up. I think they're interesting things. You may disagree, but we'll cross those bridges when we get there. How about? The first of them will likely be along the lines of what we're used to. Alright. At this point, you've probably noticed. I like shoot. Shoot's good. I have an interest in it. So, there will be more shoot. Don't you worry none about that. But there's also going to be other things. Shoot is still technically involved, but it's not the primary gameplay. A new spine is going to be involved too. Oh, I see. Well, we want to run and start on this one. Hip. Or not.
Of course, I had to tread carefully. Otherwise, I could, well, die.
True. So is that not the way that the... Oh, okay. Not that one. This one. Not that one, this one. This one good, other one no. Understood.
Luckily, I found a cave, and as I made my way back to the bridge, I saw something that concerned me. There was a long burning fuse, and it was moving fast as hell. I had to catch it.
Yeah, here we go.
The burning fuse was so damn quick, I had to run like the wind. I almost had it, but no. Thought I was gonna have a coronary when I lost sight of those sparks. My heart was pounding like a sledgehammer. I knew that failure meant boom. Then, finally, at the last moment. Whew.
Got it.
Of course, I was successful, or clearly I wouldn't be talking to you folks here today.
Clearly.
Naturally, I removed the last dynamite charge. Well, it was a touching reunion.
What? Silas, what? Touching reunion with... Okay. Maybe there's someone up there.
But by this time, I was thoroughly exhausted and dragging my ass as I was not a young man anymore.
I mean, even a young man would probably be exhausted after that. That's a lot. That's just a great deal.
Kill that SOB!
Oh, man.
Send him to her death!
Finally, I found those boys. Or more precisely, they found me.
He's crazy! Curry asked me! None of your little damn food!
Boy, this sucks. That's just not a good place to be. And we're gonna need a full-length rifle. This thing, I was right, I don't understand. Like, why would I do this and not just the rifle?
How many of us is he gonna
See that guy? He's got that sight line way the fuck down there. There's too many clear advantages, you know?
from behind there?
Fuck you.
You won't get away with this!
It does not even seem to be particularly quicker to, like, acquire a target.
Come out from behind there!
Now I want to see if one of your friends dropped their gun. Like this guy. Give me this. What a fucking monstrosity this is, though. Look at this. This fucking... Ugh.
Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Kid Curry opened up on me with a goddamn Gatling gun. It was hidden in this tunnel and pretty well shielded.
Yeah. Well, that is why we picked up all that dynamite. It's another one of those... You know how it is. There we go. Okay.
Luckily, I had
Ammunition.
dynamite. I still, however, had my work cut out for me.
Seems like an unreasonable request. From on high, it looks like. That's one. Now, what you're seeing here, Lost Things, is what you call very good color. Cover. The colors here are nice too. My brain is attempting to merge several thoughts for convenience's sake. You know how that is.
Are you kidding me?
I have plenty more of this.
Eventually, I brought that.
Beef that bastard. There it is again.
That's when I met Kid Curry himself.
I tried to find references of that.
Pussyfooting around
Couldn't.
to deal with me personally.
Oh, there we go. We are in another showdown. I like Kid Curry's setup here. We could probably put that knife somewhere different, but at least it's easy to get to where it's at.
As fast as he was, I was just a bit faster. And as he lay wounded, I demanded to know the whereabouts of Roscoe Bob Bryant. He shouted at me. Is that what this is about? Bob went with Butch and Sundance to South America. You ain't never finding him.
There we go.
Those were his last words.
Nearly missed that one. My hands were off the keyboard.
So, Bob Bryant got away?
I knew I'd never find him in South America.
What about the other killer?
Yeah, you kind of glossed over that one.
Well, I found Jim not long after my showdown with Ringo. At the time, he was riding with the James Younger gang. Did I neglect to mention that?
Jesse James? The greatest outlaw who ever lived?
Jesse and his kin rode with Quantrill when he raided Lawrence, Kansas, and killed near 200 people, boy.
Nothing great about that.
And from there, him and his brother went on to rob banks and trains from Kansas to Missouri.
Which is why there was such a rich bounty on their heads. 40 grand for both of them, dead or alive. That's one hell of a payday.
Yeah, for the time, that would have been basically infinite money. Death rides a steel stallion. The righteous fire skill can't beat legendary bosses nor enemies armed with Gatling guns. So don't try to cheese the bosses with this skill. There we go.
Them as they were robbing a train. Bullets were flying at me from every which way.
Not quite the case there, but that's alright.
My way forward if I was gonna find this.
Close quarters, so we got the quick shooters again. Probably going to wind up with a shotgun as well. There's a shotgun guy in here somewhere, I guess. There he is. Oh, and we have skills. Forgot all about that. That's on me, Lost Things. That's on me. There it is. The Righteous Fire ability. It's up next. We'll also be upgrading our shotgun soon. Speaking of... Oh, lots of rifle ammo, though. We'll keep that in mind.
Now, wait a second. How'd they stop this train in the first place?
Well, the James boys were experts at this.
So they say.
They hopped a freight train, having heard there was a big payroll in the express safe. So, I hopped the same train.
Hit the wrong button for melee. That's okay. I'm used to it being middle mouse button. It's F in this game. Well, this time we'll try to do the quick time.
The James Younger
yeah, no.
gang was decimated after that little fiasco
Later.
they had in Northfield, Minnesota. So Jesse needed more men and took on the killer I was after, along with a host of others. I was hoping to find my man and put a bullet in his head.
Okay, I guess those aren't actually open.
Climbing around that train, I must have swallowed 100 damn bugs before I
The
reached
James
that.
Younger gang pulled the first train robbery west of the Mississippi.
Sounds like you hold them in high regard.
Everyone knows they were the most famous outlaw gang ever.
And you took them all on by your lonesome. Again. I'm finding this all a little hard to swallow, friend.
Well, maybe you need to wash it down with some whiskey. By the way, did I mention that that train was flying down those tracks like a bat out of hell? Die, you bastard! God damn you!
Quite the aim from up there, huh? But I guess I could hit him, too. That certainly seems to be your goal, sir. There we go. Come on, Silas. Use the knees. There we are. I can understand them being a little bit stiff.
Anyway, excuse me, Ben. Where would I find a gentleman's facilities? Suddenly I have an urgent need to drain my one-eyed snake. Well, I've had more than a few drinks, and I've been sitting here for quite a spell.
Right through there. Let me show you.
It's true, he has had a lot to drink.
I never heard so much malarkey in my life.
You think he's bullshitting us?
You don't think he's Silas Greaves?
I think he's just some old drunk looking for some free liquor.
I don't know, Jack. I think I believe him. You don't think
It's
he
the
met
same
Jesse
train
James?
car.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That story makes no sense at all.
Jack.
I mean, you gotta be 2 bricks short of a load to believe that cock and bull story.
I don't agree.
Jack, lay off the...
You seriously think that tired old man went toe-to-toe with Jesse James?
Well, that's better. Did I mention that this Jim was married to the infamous Belle Star? Of course, I didn't learn that until later. Anyway, I made my way forward the best I could.
Nowhere to go with that one.
Over the
Nowhere to go with that one either. Now we know. it's different on this side. Just that.
It was a rickety ride and quite precarious.
It certainly was. All right.
At some point, some sumbitch saw me and shouted out, "It's the damn Pinkertons!"
It's a damn Pinkerton!
Now, I never worked for that limey cocksucker, but I guess they assumed I was one of his assassins. Those evil bastards firebombed Jesse's mother's house and killed his stepbrother. So it's no wonder each and every asshole on that train wanted me dead.
Everybody's always mistaking you for somebody else, aren't they? Why is that, I wonder?
Don't rightly know, Jack. I'm just telling you how I remember.
I bet you are.
Goddamn claw dog!
Some dynamite.
You better hide! Coming!
There we go. Well, that largely solved that problem, didn't it? Ah, we are going that way. Well, now we're in some more wood. Oh, there he is. He had pulled a fun vanishing act.
Shoot that stupid son of a bitch!
Okay, now I can see
I
again.
came across a flat car piled high with logs and had to come up with a creative way to make my way forward.
I guess I hit the chain.
I wondered if I was ever going to find the front of that train, or the bastard I was after. Right about then, I was attacked by some asshole on a Gatling gun.
Yeah, seems like you run into a lot of them.
Asshole?
Gatling guns.
Yes, I did. Now, I don't remember how I took it out. It was either a bullet or dynamite.
Where would you find dynamite?
Does it really matter, Jack? You're messing with the flow of the story here.
It's true, he really is. It's gotta overheat eventually, right? No dice. Well. Wait. Could have sworn I was on, but apparently not. We keep juggling that that specific piece of fucking set dressing. There we are. Yeesh. They got all kinds of toys there, don't they? Well, we'll try that again.
You don't want to mess with us!
Waiting. No good cover here. Yep. Yep. Alright, maybe from farther away, start with the rifle? Maybe. So they say.
Too damn close.
And demonstrate a few times at this point.
I ain't dead yet.
From what angle this time? Well, at least not from on high again.
Shoot that stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah, you did. There are still guys in there shooting. I mean, frankly, at this point, I'm just impressed. That was a mess.
I was looking for Jim and shooting any son of a bitch stupid enough to get in my way. And that included Jesse James himself.
Okay. Well,
There sure were a lot of men determined to die that day.
I think I fell off the train.
Definitely safer on the inside of the train.
Boy, was it ever. Pretty sure I stepped on the cuffling and stepped left. Yeah, that's what happened. Alright.
It was then that Jesse detached the express car from the rest of the damn train. I could see Jesse waiting for me, fixing to kill me so he could get away with all that money.
You had a showdown with Jesse James?
Of course he didn't. Everybody knows that Jesse was killed by Bob Ford.
Yeah. Jesse went out like John Wesley Hardin. Coward shot him in the back of the head.
Guess it doesn't matter how far you run, does it, Ben? Your past always catches up with you.
Seems personal, doesn't it? Just a question, Lost Things. What do you think the last thing you'll ever do is gonna be?
Yeah, I didn't kill Jesse James. Just wounded him bad enough to convince him to hang up his guns.
What about that Jim fella? What happened to him?
I figure he was up front with a gun to the engineer's head. That bastard slipped away again. I'll tell you how I got him. But first I need to wet my whistle.
There we are. We've done it again, without forgiveness. And, yep, Jesse's gang did rally around Frank. But anyway, I would just keep that question of the last thing you'll ever do in mind as we continue through here. Sometimes exceptionally strong enemies appear among your opponents. Yes, thank you.
After my showdown with Jesse, I continued to track his brother, Frank, and that son of a bitch, Jim. I
Okay.
followed those bastards into the high mountains as they were going to ground.
What mountains would that be?
Somewhere in the Ozarks, I believe. The perfect place to hide out from the authorities. In fact, before I could find them, some Indians who fled the res and were hiding out from the military found me first. They probably thought I was a cavalry scout and didn't want me telling the military where they were.
Injuns?
Yeah, they could have been Cheyenne, but there was all sorts of renegades roaming the landscape back then.
To wander that freely. I still dream about it, lost things, do you? I don't know if you have in the first place. Ricochet shot. I guess I bounced it off the rock. There we go. His corpse kind of hung in the air, didn't it?
Hey, how about another whiskey, Ben? Nothing better to soothe the troubled soul.
I don't know about soothing, but you can get pretty numb.
Now, where was I? Indians.
This should look familiar.
I had more than my share of run-ins with the rest. Like that time. Did I tell you about Grey Wolf?
Yes, sir. You did.
Ah, of course I did. In fact, I can still remember that old medicine man's words to me.
Jesus Christ, we're back to that again?
You carry great darkness in your heart. It will claim your soul. You will come to this place again and kill many more men. And the darkness will grow until it consumes everything you are.
Well, those certainly don't look like natives, do they?
So, did you ever find it? Who? The man you are after.
Let me ask you something, Ben. You ever think about death?
Silas, in fact, I do.
Mr. Greaves, are you all right?
Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year? What is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me? Well, I am death, none can excel. I'll open the door to heaven or hell. Oh, death, someone would pray. Could you wait to call me another day? Oh, death. Oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year?
So, are you gonna answer the question?
What question is that?
Jim Reed. Did you ever find him?
Reed was indeed that son of a bitch's surname. That's right, Ben. A despicable character. I remember him laughing like a hyena that cold morning they lynched me and my brothers. He was intent on avoiding my vengeance, but nothing was gonna stop me. Nothing.
Well, here's Frank. Do you remember Silas asking or telling Ben, what Jim's last name happened to be.
Down. They had long rifles with scopes and were well positioned to pick off any poor soul who came anywhere close.
Certainly seems to be. Yeesh. That's a good firing position, though. Can't fault him on that. If I was going to hold out anywhere, this would be how I do it. Maybe somewhere with less organic cover, if you can find it, though.
I'm guessing Frank James believed I was responsible for the demise of his brother Jesse. I couldn't really disagree with the man, as I thought Jesse was dead then as well. He backed off as I closed in on him, but he was still intent on killing me. And when I closed in on him again, he backed off again, looking for a better angle on me.
Frank's got a good head on his shoulders for this kind of conflict.
Hell, I can't fault Frank for wanting his revenge, as I was there for the same damn reason myself. At this point, I'm guessing you think Silas Greaves is a worse murderer than Jim Reed ever was.
No, sir.
A man who spent half his life killing somebody's brothers, fathers, sons.
I think you were just looking for justice, sir.
Is that what I was looking for, Dwight? Is that what it was? Justice?
Isn't that why you were hunting the James gang?
The James gang. Right. I finally found Frank holed up in his mountain cabin, and he was determined to have me dead. It was a pitched battle that could have gone either way. Luckily, I had some dynamite in my possession.
Dynamite. On your person.
And a few sticks, just in case. It's always good to be prepared.
Right.
I'm just laying out the facts as I remember them, Jack.
Yeah, you stay on that side of the bridge. Alright.
That old shack? Well, it went tumbling right off that cliff.
With Frank James still in it?
Yes, sir.
But Frank James is still alive, living in Missouri, showing folks around the family farm for 25 cents a tour.
I didn't say he died in the fall, now did I?
I'm done with this damnable outlaw life. Kill me, don't kill me, do what you will. At this point, I just don't give a shit.
I explained to Frank that I had nothing against him personally and that I was looking for someone else.
You want Reed? Have at him. I never did like that bastard. I am done here.
I mean,
We
Silas.
parted in peace as Frank pointed out the path to my prey before making his way back down the hill.
Silas, hang on there. I appreciate your dedication to fair play, but if I am, you know, a bounty hunter, I'm not passing up that 15 grand. Someone else already claimed the 25 on Jesse. That's fine. That's done. 15 grand, Silas. But, you know, it's matters of the heart.
What happened with Reed?
Well, I finally found the last of the gang hiding in a nearby cave. First, I had to dispatch the lookouts. I was determined
There
not
we
to
go.
let that murderer escape my revenge.
Never mind. Never mind.
But rather than wander in willy-nilly, I decided it would be better to smoke that sumbitch out.
It typically is. That's what we're looking for. And then we'll try to get to the quick shooters. We've been using them sometimes. This... well, no. That'll probably be it, so we can fuck with those.
Shouted. No wonder you're so ornery. Can't be easy being married to Belle Starr. While you're off providing for the family, she's spreading her legs for every Tom, Dick, and Cole Younger. Not an attractive woman exactly, but very friendly. At least she was to me.
Got him.
Son of a bitch!
Probably not right now.
It's jumped out of hiding.
Why won't this asshole give up? Someone
Yeah, you know how that is. We want more solid cover. Like this rock. This rock will be good cover. Eventually that wood will fall apart. Oh, we're out of boys.
It was just me and Reed.
You know how this goes.
I had waited a long time to face him down, so I could repay him for what he did to my brothers.
It's quite the pelt, Reed.
And repay him I did.
It's true, Pi. We repaid him. That's what happened. That's just how it went.
Well, I don't know about you boys, but I'm pretty beat.
Well, it's too damn bad you never found that Bob character. Seems a shame you never had to pay.
Well, funny thing about that, I did have one more chance at him. Six months ago, I heard that Butch and Sundance were back in the States and had gathered up some of their old gang. I tracked them down, hoping that Roscoe Bob Bryant had returned with them.
So you're saying they didn't die down in Bolivia?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. The good, the bad, and the dead. It tells us we can try shooting through cover. That's a fact.
40 years I had waited to get my hands on the last of my brother's killers. Not even an army of demons could have stopped me now.
Is there more? Oh, there's one like right behind him. Yeah, there's several all around.
Both Johnny Ringo and Jim Reed fell fairly quickly. But the last one, Roscoe Bob Bryant, that son of a bitch had managed to escape my vengeance time and time again. I couldn't even be certain I'd recognize him after all those years.
That's understandable.
I'd be close to 70.
For all you know, he could have been dead.
That thought had indeed crossed my mind, as did others. For instance, did my thirst for vengeance turn me into something worse than the man I was after?
We'll
By
need
this
this.
point in my storied career, I had killed more men than Bob Bryant ever had. I was furious as hell at that bastard for making me who I am. A man with no family, no friends, no purpose except shooting Bob Bryant dead.
Seems like familiar geography, doesn't it? Where are we, do you think, Lost Things? Is it somewhere real?
Nothing could stop me from taking his life. I'd been after that
Of
killer
course,
forever.
real is squishy, isn't it?
I rode with Billy the Kid, but that chapter of my story you already know.
Chapter of that fairy tale, you mean?
Suddenly, it was 1910. There I was, an old man roaming a ghost town dead almost 2 decades.
There we are. We just missed the stairs. 1910.
The town was falling apart, just like me. But I wasn't about to call it quits. Even though the ghosts of my dead brothers were begging me to end what I started so long ago.
Mr. Graves, are you all right? Would you like some water?
The Wild Bunch knew I was there.
Water's probably a good idea at this point, Silas.
They'd hidden before they fled, buried in the grave of a dead amigo. Some folks think the town is haunted, so they figured there wouldn't be many people poking around. I intended to fill that grave with Bob Bryant's corpse. But like I said, the bandits knew I was onto them. They lured me in and hit me with everything they had.
Put that geezer in the ground!
I don't think there's any way they're getting it in. There we go. Ooh, we actually did manage to hit one of the
But you
dynamite parcels.
Since you're sitting here telling us today.
Actually, in that moment, I did not prevail.
So I suppose we're talking to a ghost.
In a way.
Funny you should put it like that, Jack. Because when I woke up,
From the dead?
More or less.
silence all around me. I could swear to God I saw Billy then.
Billy who?
Billy the Kid. William Bonney. He was shooting at me from a rooftop. Here, there, even over there.
So I am right. You are titched in the head.
Mr. Graves, perhaps we should switch you to coffee?
You see that
Coffee
old
does sound
Indian
good right
Indian
now.
too?
But I did see
Silas won't have one, I will.
he came at me guns a-blazing.
We'll finish up. The witch is just giving me my time
That
update.
old war horse had died 2 years before. I wondered if maybe I was dead too and confronting the ghosts of my past. Perhaps all my sins were coming back to haunt me and drag me down to perdition.
Well, Silas, I would offer a couple of corrections. You don't necessarily have to be dead to be a ghost. You just have to be a shell of your former self. You know, something closer to a memory than a person. Or a collection of memories, even. The worst part about the ghosts is that they are hard to see, being, you know, quasi-transparent like this. This is likely some of the last few upgrades that we're going to get to spend in the game, so we're going to try to make them count, at least a little. There he goes.
Throw dynamite at me.
I see, Henry Plummer. No dice. Oh, well. Yeah, like I said, the greatest challenge here is that I can't see them terribly well. And they are difficult to spot. 3 Henry Plumbers.
In the gates of the cemetery, I saw John Wesley Hardin, just like I remembered him.
That's got that. We'll grab what we can and keep moving. Up. An assortment of guns for us. We can do this. And then probably a rifle. For far, for close. Let's get weird.
Robert Ollinger appeared with his terrible double-barrel shotgun.
He sure did.
The Ghost Army was stopping me.
My father-in-law got hit with a fallen branch. He spent the rest of his life talking to dogs.
It's fine to talk to dogs.
William Brocious, John Peters Ringo, they all wanted me dead.
This will go on like this for a moment or two. Ah. And it's a bad spot. We are surrounded on all ends. They kind of throw all the shit out the window here about positioning at the end. We can dance a little, but it's, you know, they're hard to spot, and they're everywhere. They come from every single angle. So we kind of have to hug cover like that sometimes. Ah.
The Dalton brothers, Robert and Grattan, guardians of the Garden of the Dead.
Fuck you, Grat.
Harvey Logan, alias Kid Curry, both thirsty for vengeance from the great beyond.
Oh, they can walk through solid things too. Great. Well, I don't remember that, but I sure remember it now.
Jesse, Woodson, James, and Jim Reed. Each one deader than the next. I thought I would go crazy. Thought?
Okay. We're loading. Ow. I'm gonna have to ask Mr. James there to knock it the fuck off. Mr. Reed, too.
Finally, I saw Harry Alonzo Longabaugh.
The Sundance Kid?
Like a general leading his Legion of the Dead.
You told us before that you'd seen him alive.
He was alive.
to get on out of there because, you know, he's one of those shotgun bosses. There we are.
Voice called to me from afar.
Toasted.
Robert Leroy Parker, a.k.a. Butch Cassidy, coming at me from out of the fog.
Thanks for taking care of that bastard.
Well, never mind. Do you get it?
But the kid wasn't quite deceased.
So,
Takes more than
we have one of these standoffs.
likes of me, partner.
Those two looked like they hadn't seen each other for quite a while. Clearly, they were no longer amigos.
Shit. I was hoping I wouldn't have to kill you.
You won't have to, Butch. I'm killing you first.
I mean, fucking maybe.
About Bob Bryant, but they were too busy with their own heated conversation.
Let me get this shit straight. You want my money and the love of my life?
You frittered it all away, Butch. Edda's mine. So is that damn money.
I didn't want to shoot anybody until I had an answer to my question, but those boys didn't give me much of a choice.
Nope, we're doing this. And so now, we must focus on who is focusing on us in order to dial in our aim. Which means that our first shot is likely going to be pretty wild. And we are going to have to zip from one to the other very quickly. And kind of guess. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. This one will likely take me a couple of tries. It always does. Because there's not a lot of indication who is going to draw and shoot at me. Sometimes it's fucking Sundance here, sometimes it's Butch.
Butch Cassidy, the Sundance
Tagged him in the dick first. All right.
Not 6 months ago.
All right. Yeesh. Well, it is the finale. We'll have a choice to make. It's reminding us of why we might make these choices. To me, there's only one ending that makes sense here, Lost Things. I don't imagine that you'll be shocked. But well, you'll see things on the road that I tend to put them on when I play through here.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were killed by the Bolivian army. Everybody knows that.
That's the legend, but it ain't the truth.
So, you never found Bob?
There is no Bob. This old sumbitch ain't even Silas Greaves.
Sir, is that true? Have you been pulling our legs this whole time?
Well, not the whole time.
Oh man, I think you've worn out your welcome here.
Maybe you're right, Jack. maybe it's time to pay. You see, Ben, or should I say Bob, your past always catches up with you.
I was a different man back then, crazy. Drinking, I changed my ways, I swear to you. If I could turn back the clock,
But you can't, Bob.
It's true. We can't ever go backwards, much as we might like to. Done is done, and like I said, the road stretches onward. Well, there's always time, isn't there?
Why'd you toy with me like that? Telling those tales, knowing all along. Why not just lay your cards on the table?
Wanted to suss you out, Bob. See what kind of man you turned out to be. Maybe prod you into drawing on me. See, all those years on your trail turned me into a killer. Can't even remember who I was before you tried to murder me. You, on the other hand, walked that very same path in exactly the opposite direction.
What do you mean by that?
You think your life is worth sparing, Bob? Boy, what's your name again?
It's Eisenhower, sir. Dwight Eisenhower.
What do you plan to do with your life, Dwight Eisenhower?
Tomorrow I'll be leaving for West Point, sir.
So, you want to be a soldier? Well, then do it right, son. Don't tear down the world out of anger and spite like I did. You build it up. You do something decent with your life, you hear me?
Sir? Yes, sir.
I won't have it said I left you with nothing, Bob.
Gunslinger. We'll take a look at a few of the nuggets of truth that we didn't get to in kind of our gameplay part of it. It's a better rendition of this song than I think any video game deserves. Anyway, and I should clarify, when I say there's always time for the attempt. Cheesy. Sure, but here we are. I deeply enjoy this game, from how it plays to how it looks to how it is that the characters carry it. Even at the end where we learn, and that boy was Dwight Eisenhower, future president of the United States. It's fine. I should have played this back to back with fucking Metal Wolf Chaos. I didn't think of it at the time. Oh well. Oh well. There we go. Let's see a couple of these nuggets of truth. Just some of the more famous ones. I mean, they're all famous, but some of the ones that we actually met. We don't necessarily need like Cole Younger and so on and so forth. We did talk to Curly Bill. Let's start with Dwight. 34th President of the United States, born on October 14th, 1890 in Denison, Texas. Grew up in Abilene, Kansas, and died in Washington, D.C. on March 28th, 1969. Before he was elected president, he had been a 5-star general in the United States Army and the supreme commander of the Allied forces in Europe during the Second World War. Over the course of his presidency between 1953 and 1961, the number of nuclear warheads in the U.S. grew from 1,000 to 18,000. However, he did end the Korean War soon after being elected. During his time in office, NASA was created and the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare was established. Eisenhower also was instrumental in the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, which started the construction of the interstate highway system. That is a fun fact about the interstate highway system. It is a military transit network. It is so we could move supplies and people and weapons and all that shit across the country and up and down the coasts in case of an invasion. He was a moderate conservative who expanded Social Security and sent federal troops to Little Rock, Arkansas for the first time since Reconstruction to enforce federal court orders to desegregate public schools. Young Dwight had been an avid reader, especially fond of military history and tales of the Old West. Growing up in Abilene, he enjoyed talking to the old-timers about the days when Abilene was a major destination for cattle drives. He was also a great fan of poker. A love for the game was instilled in him by an old cowboy who Dwight considered a mentor and a friend. So, hey, the president. A future president. We meet him when he's a young kid and he's all golly gosh and gee willikers. Kind of like the modern Spider-Man. Y'all probably know Doc Holliday, from the movies. John Henry Holliday, better known as Doc due to his degree in dentistry, was born on August 14th, 1851 and died of tuberculosis on November 8th, 1887. He is best remembered as Wyatt Earp's friend. Famous sheriff wrote about Holliday in an 1896 article. Doc was a dentist, not a lawman or an assassin, whom necessity had made a gambler, a gentleman whom disease had made a frontier vagabond, a philosopher for whom life had made a caustic wit, and a long, lean, ash-blonde fellow nearly dead with consumption, and at the same time the most skillful gambler and the nerviest, speediest, deadliest man with a six-gun that I ever knew. Doc Holliday fought in the famous gunfight at OK Corral at Wyatt's side. He received a flesh wound and, in return, filled Tom and Frank McLaury full of lead, killing at least the former of the two. No one ever expected that Holliday would die in bed with his boots off, least of all him. The tuberculosis that ravaged his body for most of his days finally took his life. On his deathbed, he asked the nurse for whiskey. When she refused him, he looked down at his bootless feet and uttered his last words. "Damn, this is funny." Vigilance committees, yeah. Jim Reed and Belle Starr. Not much is known about Jim Reed other than the fact that during the Civil War he was a member of Quantrill's Raiders, just like the James brothers and the Youngers. After the war, he rode for a time with Sam Starr's gang and later with the James Younger gang. He died in 1874 in Paris, Texas. That's not Paris, France. Paris, Texas. We do that over here in America. We'll just take names. From a gunshot wound. Today, he's probably better known as the first husband of the infamous Belle Starr, the Bandit Queen. Belle should have gotten her own entry, don't you think? They met as teenagers, and Belle gave birth to his two children. Belle Starr, or Myra Maybelle, Shirley Reed Starr, also knew the Youngers and the James brothers. After Jim's demise, she turned to banditry, taking part in horse and cattle thefts and protecting other criminals, thus earning the moniker of the Queen of the Bandits. The peak of her criminal activities was during her marriage to Sam Starr. It is said that after Jim Reed's death and before she married Starr, she was Cole Younger's wife for 3 weeks. 3 whole weeks. There's no solid evidence backing that up, however. Belle Starr was famous for her impeccable style. Goddamn straight she was. Look at that. She looks a little... You know what? I would not be surprised if Virginia Maxwell of Wild Arms fame was based a little bit on Belle Starr, just looking at her here. Anyway, she was usually seen riding her horse side saddle, as a proper lady was supposed to, wearing a stylish black dress with 2 revolvers and an ammo belt around her hip. She died in unusual circumstances 2 days before her 41st birthday in 1889. An unknown murderer shot Belle off the horse she was riding with a shotgun and then shot her again. The bushwhacker's identity is still a mystery. Starr's own son is among the prime suspects, as the Bandit Queen was a tough woman to live with. Said son was a bandit himself and then became a lawman, only to die in a saloon shootout in 1896. His sister Pearl plied the world's oldest trade and ran a bordello in Fort Smith, Arkansas, from 1890s until the First World War. Okay, well this was about more than just Jim and Belle. We got the whole Starr family in there. What do you say? We'll get Jesse, we'll get Butch, we'll get the Sundance Kid, and then we'll call this done. Jesse Woodson James is probably the Wild West's most celebrated outlaw. He was famous when he was alive, but attained the status of a legend upon his death. Despite enjoying a reputation worthy of Robin Hood, when the facts of history are examined, it's clear he wasn't much more than a thief and a murderer. As a teenager, Jesse and his brother Frank fought as Confederate guerrillas during the Civil War alongside the infamous William Quantrill and his raiders. Some believe Jesse took part in the massacre of some 200 men and boys in Lawrence, Kansas. After the war, Jesse, like many disaffected former Southern and sympathizers, turned to banditry and continued to wage his own private war. Until 1876, Jesse, Frank, and the Younger brothers robbed banks and trains as the James Younger Gang. Their legendary run came to a bloody conclusion when they tried to rob the First National Bank of Northfield, Minnesota. My mouth has decided to quit on me. You know how that can be. 2 of the gang were left dead. Cole Younger ended up in prison. Only Frank and Jesse escaped unscathed. 3 years later, Jesse James founded a new gang, but these new members weren't battle-hardened war veterans. Frank had left the gang, and without his sure hand, Jesse became paranoid and mistrustful of his partners in crime. His concerns were well-founded, however, as someone he trusted betrayed him most grievously. On April 3rd, 1882, after breakfast with his family, Jesse decided to wipe some dust off a photograph on his living room wall. He unbuckled his revolver belt and climbed a chair while his friend Robert Ford, hoping to collect a bounty, put a bullet in the back of his head. Thus, Jesse James joined other Wild West luminaries like Wild Bill Hickok and John Wesley Hardin, who died from a gunshot in the back. Yeah, but like 25 grand though. He's a pretty dude. Look at his face. Alright. Butch. Also, that's a good jaw. That's a good jaw. Alright. Robert Leroy Parker adopted the name Cassidy in honor of his mentor, Mike Cassidy. The nickname Butch was earned when he worked as a butcher in Rock Springs, Wyoming. History remembers him not as a rancher or a butcher, but rather as the leader of one of the Wild West's most notorious gangs. It was known only as the Wild Bunch by some. Others called them the Hole in the Wall Gang. A little bit less catchy. Butch was considered calm and sensible for a man of his profession, and because of that, the Wild Bunch boasted the longest streak of successful bank and train robberies in history. It does take a steady hand to lead people. It does. Today, Butch Cassidy is always remembered together with his friend and partner, the Sundance Kid. Both were forced to leave the country and to take refuge in Bolivia. That's also where they died in 1908. Surrounded in their own house by a band of Bolivian soldiers and officers, one of the two, it's impossible to know who, killed his wounded friend and then shot themselves. It was never proved beyond any doubt that the 2 dead Americans were indeed Cassidy and Sundance. One version of the story has Cassidy returning to the United States under a false name to die as late as 1936. One thing is certain, though. Both men are now definitely dead, even as their legend lives on. Yeah, it'd be hard to be alive at this point. Okay, the Sundance Kid, and then we'll call it quits. Harry Alonzo Longenbaugh earned his moniker by serving an 18-month sentence for horse thievery in Sundance, Wyoming at the age of 15. Well, at least this would make sense. His fame, however, was won alongside Butch Cassidy as a member of the Wild Bunch. He was often called a gunfighter, but there is not a single death by shooting which can easily be attributed to the Sundance Kid. It is quite possible that the newspaper of the time mistook another truly murderous member of the bunch, Harvey Logan, aka Kid Curry, for Sundance. Together with his wife Etta and Butch Cassidy, they fled the U.S. and the authorities in pursuit of them to hide out in South America. There in Bolivia, he allegedly died alongside his friend in 1908. We cannot be sure, though, as there are those who believe that Longenbaugh returned to the United States and lived for many years under a different name. His story will forever remain a mystery. And that's the fun of it, isn't it? You know, that's just the fun of it. Alright. So this has been fun, I think. I like this game. We're gonna quit out. We're gonna send you here. And, yeah, you know, if it shows up on your Steam recommendations, pick it up, give it a go. There's an arcade mode that I use to test the sound things, and that lets you just play the levels through on any one of the 3 trees that we saw in Silas's upgrades. You pick a kind of cowboy you want to be, and they have their own predetermined kits and loadouts, and it's really just a time attack. If you particularly care for the duels minigame, you can also play that against various opponents and get your reaction time down. I believe mine, the fastest on record that I've got when I was really into this was fucking a little under 0.2 of a second. And that took a lot of time in getting used to the thing and all that. I think at the time I was also fucking playing Warning Forever, so my head was flying a mile a minute. anyway. We've slowed it down largely out of necessity. You think yourself almost to death if you carry on that way. We still have trouble with it now, where our mouth will just kind of spit more than one word at a time. Slowing down is very, very difficult, boss things, very difficult. But anyway, that's enough rambling from me for right now. You know, it's winter, so maybe things will get a little bit chilly, a little bit cozy. And we'll be back with something else next time. Hope you liked Silas. I like Silas. Anyway, wander around on your own for a bit. See ya.